Welcome back, everyone. Going into the second half here at Court of Swords. Adam, what's going on?
Yo, all right. So you are now at the site of this terrible scene, and I think probably Adikur was knocked unconscious um before she saw like what happened. She knows somehow that Erishtomb is gone, whether that's a magical thing that she just knows or the whatever, like hard to say. But you return and we see her reaction to the scene, right? It's dark, the moon is starting to rise, the sun is set, and in this kind of silver light, she sees black blood reflecting off of the stones. She sees the scene kind of scattered bones in places, and she stops and just sort of takes the whole thing in as the rest of you kind of come up to join her. And she looks at Ramus as if wordlessly to say, even now, even after all this, like you can still do this, right? She's looking to you like, this is horrible,
Yes, child.
but you can still do it.
Yes, child. When the elements come into harmony, anything is possible.
Smooth, Ramus. So she nods. She says, what must be done?
We must find even a piece of him.
Cool. I'm just gonna
Here's
add
just poop I found of him. Does that work?
I'm gonna add badly traumatized to her character sheet, and we'll give her, I don't know, 17 levels of it. So like, okay, cool. So we need to dig around in these bone fragments, and you need to find a piece of your fiance's, I don't know, anything. You got a tibia, you got a pelvis, well, whatever. I know he's been chewed on by trolls, but you can find something, right?
If this doesn't work, Ramus, Jesus Christ.
If I notice
it'll work.
this conversation having an effect on Adi.
Yeah.
Or let me ask that. Do I notice this having an effect on Adi?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
if she was a human, and I don't want to paint all humans with the same broad brush here, but chances are pretty good she'd have a rough time with it. She probably is, but dwarves have we've heard of the magnificent vaults of the dwarves where they keep their gold and whatever. The true vault of the dwarves is the impregnable diamond fortress within that they cram their feelings into so they don't have to deal with them. So
Sure, okay.
she is entombing her grief under several million pounds per square inch of geological pressure. So the tiniest twitch of her eye indicates that she's pretty fucked up right now, and it's just gonna get worse. She's handling it.
Yeah, dead or Adi.
She's got a handle on it.
Well, I realize that what Ramus may have said is, well, it's distressing, but the person that you knew does not lie in the remains. The person that you knew is on its way to its reward, or its afterlife.
She nods and she says, she nods and she says, it has not been time yet. The messenger has not carried him to the afterlife.
Yes. What we are searching for is nothing more than the sheath to the sword. The sheath has its function, but it holds the sword. It's nothing more than when we search, it's just meat and bone. It's not your
Yeah, and
friend.
she's nodding like, yeah, like I know. And when you when you come to the conclusion, she sort of interrupts the last bit. Like she's been very polite, but she interrupts the last bit of the sentence and she says, I know what you humans believe. It's foolishness. We're not here to debate religion. If Ramus Krill can bring Erashtum back to me, can pilfer him from the messenger's pouch, then elders be damned. That's what I want. I will do this hard thing. And she walks out into the sort of charnel field to go looking for a piece of bone. Or now, Ramus, do you need, and she would ask, do you need a physical piece of his body, or can it be like an undigested gold ring or something?
It has to be part of his body. Just any part
Some
of his,
physical
even the
piece.
smallest part of
Right.
his body. Yeah.
God, like, okay. The person you love most in the whole world has died and been eaten by trolls. And your new weird friends say you have to go dig through all of these piles of like broken bones and try to find a bone that belongs to the person you love more than anyone in the whole world. Do you know what your boyfriend's bones look like? I don't think I could do it. I'm trying to think of a way that she could recognize some piece of him after all of this has happened. And maybe she tries, and it's not like she can't find bones, but like hours go by where she's just finding pieces and like laying them out and like basically like she's matching the bodies, right? So she's like, here's a piece of a skull. There's a piece of a skull. Okay, now I have like an arm bone. And it's interesting because if you watch her, and I'll let you tell me if like anybody wants to help, but she's clearly not just looking for Erashtum. She is completing 3 separate skeletons here, one at a time, from broken bones and shattered bits and pieces of like armor and stuff. And so over the course, as it gets dark, she just unceasingly like starts to reconstruct these bodies. Does anybody offer to help, or do you all like make camp, or?
I think I help her. I get down and try to
That would definitely
help
help
her
as well.
as much as I can.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
I'll keep a
So
lookout.
yeah, I mean, there's not a ton. There's no bone left uncracked or bitten, right? So all the bones, it's like, well, I found half of an arm and then it's just snapped off. But she's starting to figure out, maybe it's not perfect, but she's figuring out like separate like skeletons. And this effort goes like well into the night, right? The moon rises into the sky, and like the group of you like dig through the bodies and start to try to put together some semblance of what's left. There's no flesh, there's no skin or hair or anything, right? There's like little bits and pieces here and there. But I think there's no big fanfare when she finally finds something she recognizes. She's not like, Eureka, I did it. The way you notice is that you're still working, right? You're like, all right, is this an occipital lobe? Does this look like a femur to you? Is this your femur? And you're like, you're working on this stuff. You notice she's stopped. She is standing kind of at the edge of the area that you're in, and she's just sort of staring silently at something in her hands.
I mean, I'll go over and see what it is, but I can't communicate with her. So,
oh, that's even better. So you walk over, and she's holding in her hands what looks like, if you had to guess, either like a leg or an arm bone, like one of the shorter ones. So it's like either whatever the bone in your forearm is, or like a shin bone. It's hard to say. You're not a dwarven skeleton expert.
yeah.
She's holding it, and like all the other bones around here, it's got tooth marks and stuff on it. But you notice the bone was broken and fixed before all of this. So the bone has in it, you see, and this is just like, this is great. It's dwarven ingenuity. The bone has a thin line where there was a break and it's healed, but bones heal. Sometimes they heal weak, right? Like, so you can still see the fracture line. And then on either side of the line, there are little bronze screws holding the bone together. And so she's holding it. And if she hears or notices you walk up, she doesn't say anything, but she's just standing staring at this bone.
How far away is Ramus?
I don't know. I mean, I imagine this whole thing takes place in like a little 60-foot like circle. Right?
Okay.
Crime
Then
scene.
I just make a shout towards Ramus. I think we found something.
She starts and she looks at you and she can't communicate, but she holds the find to her chest. And then looks over at Ramus, who she can talk to, who comes over. And she holds it out and she says, Will this do?
Yes, this will do. I will need a clear space to begin.
She nods.
Maharib and 10 Pillars and Berg, if you could make camp nearby. This will take a while.
Yeah. I go and do just that.
Berg and
How long
Maharib,
would
if
you
you could make
say?
camp, 10 Pillars, make me a sandwich.
I start making camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Berg would start
10
like-
Pillars, if you could help me with the ritual, there's a lot involved.
Of course.
All right, then once we have a clear spot, I start casting Resurrection, a level 7 spell.
God damn. Look at that. Ramus is going to use 1,000 GP diamond for bring an NPC you've never met back to life. That is...
We think you hot now?
That is
You
a
can
big-
do
that's a
this?
big
You think-
deal.
You think you cool shit?
Yeah, I think she's gonna be important. So
So, the weird thing is you're going to bring them back to life. The two of them are going to get in a huge fight, and then they're just going to get a divorce. And
Yeah, they're just
they'll
going to
never
leave
speak
and
again.
break
Yeah.
up.
Or you're gonna
If we
find
are
out
lucky.
he's
God.
the incredibly racist one who respects the old ways of the dwarven people.
God, Jesus Christ, wouldn't that be the worst? The first thing he does when he comes back is just slaps her in the face. You're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have brought this guy back. Fuck.
Damn it.
God damn
Maybe
it. Now
just
I'm going to
leave-
choke my diamond out of you.
Just lessons learned by Court of Swords. Just leave the abusers in the grave. We don't know Rashtomb. We'll see. So, all right. So the spell takes an hour to cast, and that's like preparing the space, creating the ritual, etc., etc. It is an ordeal. So he is for the next 4 days. Rashtomb is going to be fucked right up. Hasn't been dead for longer than a year, so you're okay. This is level 7 magic. This is a big deal. What does this look like, Ramus, as you do this, right? And I think once the ritual starts, Berg, Maharib, 10 Pillars, and Adikor all come and stand around to watch, right? Unless anybody's actively avoiding it.
I don't know. I'm trying to think how Maharib would think of resurrection.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't care. Let's see if he can do this.
Yeah.
so I lay down a blanket, and then I put the bone in the center of the blanket, and then I make a
Yeah.
circle of rocks around the outside, and at each interval I put an element. I put fire, and then water, earth, plants, and in a circle around, and then I start casting hour-long chant that just never stops the whole time. And I just keep moving to each element in the circle, and it seems to react and until at the end of the hour, the circle is complete. And then you can start to see something sort of materialize in the center right above the bone, and then drop into the bone, and the bone starts to twitch, and the bone starts to spread out. Each bone starts to reform in and of itself until you start to see then flesh starts to come back, and it just starts to. It's like the body is growing, but at quite a rapid rate, and just sort of rematerializes the whole thing until finally it takes a breath.
While this is happening, yeah, like as this is finishing, so I'll let you. I definitely want to let you finish, Rams, but I want to point out. So Berg, this whole process is giving you just like the weirdest deja vu. Like you're just like, I've heard this. Like you find yourself like knowing the pacing of the ritual, and like there are words where you're like, this is Ramus magic nonsense, but you're like, I've heard this before. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that feeling. And I guess maybe as you're finishing Ramus, right, as you're rebuilding him, and also the irony of using the guy's like weak broken arm to rebuild him is kind of funny, right? Where he's like, I'm back from the dead. Ow, my arm. But when we pan over from like we see Berg, right, and we see you kind of make that face like, and as we pan over 10 pillars, what is the look on your face? Are you like intent and serious? Do you turn away at the last minute? Like what do we see for 10 pillars? And then we'll do the same for Maharib, because I think we get like the reaction shot as the light is glowing and Ramus is doing his big priest thing.
I honestly was picturing like the robe of eyes that I have, like it spreads out so more eyes can like look at it. Like it's like all just like turn into it.
I love the internalization of the robe of eyes as like a new limb or whatever. Like you take it into account now, and you would have more eyes if you just like hold your arms open. You get like a broader view of it. I keep forgetting that 10 Pillars has weird 360 alien vision.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just watching intently, possibly like unbeknownst to 10 Pillars, his mouth is just kind of open. He's not actually smoking his pipe. It probably actually went out.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of looking and like
that is
what's happening.
That is one of my favorite ways for like a filmmaker to indicate that a character is overwhelmed. If they're smoking a cigarette and you cut to them and the cigarette is like mostly ash and it just hasn't, and they're just standing there like staring. Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah. So your pipe has gone out and you're holding it near your mouth like you were about to take a hit on it and then you just forgot and you're just like staring. Yep. Cool. That's really good. Yeah. All right. So as we continue to pan, what's Maharib's reaction to this? Yeah. What do we see Maharib doing when we pan over to him?
Whatever you envision a Goliath's face growing to like anger and then just storming off.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like
all right.
right
so
before it's about to like finish or the body's like forming or whatever, I just like turn and I'm just storming off somewhere.
Ramus, you are in the middle of the ritual. You see Maharib. And this is, oh God, it's such a mean move by JP because Dan has a goal about this. So Ramus, you can't help but notice that Maharib is like, I don't want to watch this and walks off.
Oh, I didn't even think about the goal.
No, it's good though. It's so good because you're making him work for it. Yeah. Because this is a miracle of harmony. Like this is a big fucking deal. This is the kind of shit that goes in the Bible of Ramus Krill, and doubting Maharib is just like, nah. Like turns his back. This is going to be a tapestry someday, and it's going to be great. You know, like it's that Maharib moment of like
denied our Lord 3 times before the cock crowed.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's like it would be like Berg and 10 Pillars performing their like saintly poses or whatever as doubting Maharib turns his back on our Lord and Savior Ramus Krill. I love it.
Who's that man, Papa?
Oh, that was the doubting disciple Maharib. He was foolish and didn't understand our great Lord's power.
Right? Like, yeah. Tell me the story about how Maharib changed his mind, Papa. Yeah, I love it. That shit's great. So Maharib turns, and Ramus, you notice this, but you're in the midst of this ritual, so you won't have the opportunity right away to allow Maharib to see this. And that, I think, maybe indicates something to you, right? Like, it's difficult to both perform the miracle and then also use the miracle to convert people. But that being said, your goal that you set out to, it is complete. So as we move around the circle, as Maharib turns and leaves, we end up back on Ramus, and in the background, illuminated by the 5 or 4 colors, the colors of the elements, we see the dwarven woman, we see Adikor, and she has her hands like clasped in front of her face, and she's trembling. And we see this taking place. How does the ritual end? Give me play it out before we get this guy resurrected. What does it look like?
Yeah. So at the very last thing, like for the body, is that like as soon as it's completed, it starts shaking violently, and then it just looks like it dies, and then it just sort of comes back, and he just starts to breathe again. Like he's not quite there yet, but it's the body started to come back online. But as I'm done with the like saying the ritual, I just tell everyone there, remember, the power does not belong to heaven. It's beyond them. We, mortals, are the ones who control our own destiny, not them. Harmony is the future. And then I guess the dwarf starts to.
Yeah, he takes that first deep breath, right? It's like gasps, and he like grabs his head and groans in pain, and Adikor runs over to him, and in Dwarven shouts to like anybody. She's like, a cloak, something, please, a blanket, because he's naked, right? He's lying there like shivering. He's fucking Han Solo out the carbonite. So she looks up like, somebody help me, it's cold out here. Does anybody give her anything, or does she have to just like hold him to keep him warm?
I mean, if I have something, Berg would.
Oh yeah. You all have like cloaks and blankets and stuff.
Yeah. Berg would.
Okay.
Hand down.
Yeah. So she takes it and like wraps him in it. The body has about the same skin tone as her, that sort of dark, like tan color. He has what probably would have been, so dwarven hairstyles tend to be quite ornate and complicated, and they indicate a lot about like who you are and what caste you belong to, the way you braid your beard and your hair and how all that works. It says a lot about you. It's a way of like flagging things about your identity, but his is just long and messy because he hasn't had it for more than a few seconds. So his hair is all kind of in his face. His beard is long and scraggly. He's naked otherwise. And he has tattoos all across the back of his shoulders. He has that same mark on his face that she does, and several other tattoos on his arms. And then you can't see them because she puts the blanket around him. And she's basically muttering to him in Dwarven and saying things like, there, beloved, you'll be all right. It's okay. You're back now. I have you. You're here with me. And just saying kind of like meaningless, like calming things, the kind of things you'd say to a baby that was crying. Right. And he barely knows where he is. He's just like breathing and coughing and like trying to get his lungs to work again. The two of them are completely lost in that moment. Unless you say something, they'll need some alone time before, anybody says anything else. What do? You just watch? Do you leave? Do you give them some privacy? What happens?
I just to the others, like, we should leave them.
Yeah, step back and give them a little bit of privacy. They're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I go back to the camp.
Okay. Yeah. So the two of them sit at the edge of the camp, the edge of the light, speaking in Dwarven. She is like petting his hair. Actually, she's braiding his hair, and they're talking. And he's like nodding. And every once in a while, he'll look over at the group of you as she's like explaining something to him. And I think like an hour, maybe two goes by. They finish. They
like,
kind of
come
finish.
on, we got shit to do.
Well, I mean, you all have to take a long rest anyway. Also, Berg, you just got beat to shit by some trolls, so you're enjoy the rest, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, bye.
Max is out. He's gone.
I clicked the wrong thing. It's fine. I clicked the wrong
it's the
thing.
worst.
He hit cut.
So
or fade or something.
So you all rest, and there's a few moments, and then Adikor stays where she is, and Erishtum stands up, and he's still got the cloak wrapped around him. He doesn't have any dwarf-sized clothes. He walks over to where you are, Ramus. What are you doing right now? What is he interrupting?
I think I'm just preparing food for them because I know they're going to be hungry. So I'm over there preparing like a meal, just like a simple stew.
Okay. Yeah. So you're tending to that, maybe like sipping it, checking the spiciness. So this dwarf comes over to you, and he says, and his voice is like crackling, right? He says, "You are Ramus Krill, yes?"
I stand up. Yes.
And he takes your wrists, like he grabs your wrists unless you try to pull away. And he doesn't seem like he's like being aggressive or like, he just suddenly like just grabs your wrist. Do you do anything? You pull away from him?
No, I let him do his thing.
Okay. So he holds them up and he like turns your wrists over and looks at your hands. And he looks at you and he says, "You are either the greatest sorcerer we have ever seen, or you are very lucky, or both. We have legends of those who are foolhardy enough to reach into the messenger's bag. But our stories, they tell of greed, of self-service, sometimes bringing back a dead loved one. But we do not know each other, Ramus Krill. Why would you do this?"
Because saving you is going to help save all of the living people. It's bigger than you.
How can this be? The cost to you is great. The risk, the danger. Why? Why have you done this for me? My value to you is nothing.
Because I have to show the lengths that I'm willing to go to save our people. Dwarves, humans, all of us.
I can give you nothing that shares the same value. You have indebted me in a way I will never be able to pay back. Even my life I cannot give. It is sworn to another. You put me in a strange place, Ramus Krill. I do not mean to say that I am not thankful for your foolhardy act. Your sorcery has given me another chance to live, but this was not meant to be, and now the burden I bear is great. I cannot ask you to release me. And he like looks down at the ground, and you can see that he's like deeply conflicted, right? Where he just assumes you're like, cool, you belong to me now. Like, I brought you back, you are my slave. This is how it's gonna go. But he's like, what have you done, Ramus?
It's been a long, trying process. You should rest with your beloved. We'll speak in the morning.
I would know of you. The others. My siblings. You plan to do this to them as well.
It could. I do have the power to do it again, but it isn't without cost. The cost is very high.
He shakes his head and he says, to dip your hand into the messenger's bag once and come back unscarred is enough. You must leave Nisaba, Dakartum. Let them go to the afterlife. Do not bring them back, for you and for them. I know I am in no position to ask you for this, but leave my siblings be, please.
If that is what you wish, then it shall be. They will rest.
He nods and he says, I had not thought, feel stone beneath my feet again. You have given this to me. I have nothing to give you. I am bereft in exchange. But you have my thanks, human. Ramus. Mine and my beloved's.
You do have many gifts to offer that aren't material. I value many things. Loyalty, a good story. Just knowing you as a person. Walk with us for a while. You'll need the rest, and we can protect you.
Adikura says that you and your friends intend the Citadel. You wish to go, and she has warned you against it. Manu Mekbal is no place for your people. But you brought me back from the messenger's pouch. And Adikura owes you a debt, so when we go, I will speak for you.
That would be most appreciative.
And he nods and says, your friends, do they speak our language as well?
All but the gray one.
And he turns and he looks and he says, have you traveled in his company long? That one.
I don't know if I'm there at the camp. I probably stormed off. Like I just went off into the wilderness.
And that I was waiting for a
Right,
moment
okay.
to chime in to say like I wanted to go find Maharib.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, so maybe that's what he says then. So Maharib, he would have only glimpsed at you and then
He wouldn't have seen me very
noticed
much,
that you
yeah.
went away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, Ramus, yeah, he asks like, have you traveled with him long?
I have traveled with him a good while now. To know that he is a man of honor.
I will not gainsay you if you say this is true, but I have a reason to doubt.
We all have reasons to doubt each other. We have squabbled amongst each other for too long. It's what they want. We need to band together for once.
He nods. I am newborn into this world. I will listen when you speak, Ramus Grill. We will untangle our knot of debt later. As you say, I have crossed the veil of death to be returned to her. I should go. Be with her again.
Yes. Embrace her. Love her. Feel her. These things in of themselves is power. Embrace it. Love is not something that even magic can bestow.
And
Cherish
as you're
it.
saying that, he's smiling and nodding, and he grins, and you can actually like start seeing his teeth. And he says, I do not know you well yet, Ramus Krill, and have not gotten the measure of your belly. But when we return to the Citadel, when you see Manum, I will give you a drink such that you will never forget. But for now, and he turns, I go. And he turns around and walks away from you.
I let him go.
All right. So yeah, Berg, you watch all of this happen, right? You watch this conversation with Ramus. You hear the dwarf speak, and I don't know that there's like an external thing, but I saw like some of kind of like what was going on in chat and like how like I feel like Berg, you're smart enough to recognize like this is a different Ramus. Like, you know, the changes have been happening gradually, but like this is. You've been there to watch it, right? This isn't like, oh my God, Ramus is so different, but you are witnessing, like, he's acting so differently. And I wonder, like, does Berg say or do anything, or do we just get a quiet kind of like look on your face?
Probably more of a quiet look. Yeah, just this is just another like note in Berg's mind of like a very stark difference in contrast to what the Ramus that he used to know. I mean, I was saying jokingly, and I pulled out but from making people drink his piss to giving people new life.
Like, haha, that helpless moron drank a vial of my pee. And then later, it's like, well,
give me
I
his
had to-
pee, child. I shall resurrect him from his urinate.
exactly, right? Of course, later in the Bible of Remus Krill, it'll be like, and you shall know that you belong to my flock, for you have eaten of my flesh and drank of my pee.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're all gonna drink apple
Matter of
juice.
time. That's right. The transubstantiation of Remus's pee.
Uh-huh.
Good.
It's,
Fantastic.
yeah. It's like
And this-
that was Old Testament Ramus. Now we're
Flick
New
it on
Testament.
you.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah,
his
right.
urine to be given to all, so that the sins may be forgiven.
Yep, exactly. Well, the weird irony of building a religion, especially around the actions of a person, is that as followers get to know Remus, there will be people who look into this, who try to discover, like, and this happens in modern reality too, where people are always being like, aha, we found the cave that Christ lived in when he was 12, and here is where Christ took his first shit. And like, these things, everything becomes a relic. So the story of that woman drinking Remus's pee will become like a sacred part of the canon, and like she'll get turned into like the first to receive the communion or whatever. So that religion is so weird. So yeah, so everybody gets a chance to rest, but before that happens, 10 Pillars, you go out into the moonlit jagged peaks of the mountain to find Maharib, who left during this whole situation. I don't imagine Maharib, you're like actively trying to hide, right? Like
No,
you're not.
If anything,
Yeah.
and you tell me how. I don't know if you want to actually do the science on this, the math behind this, but if I'm punching
I
trees with 20
never
strength,
want to do the math.
what am I knocking trees over? Am I putting some holes in some trees? What am I doing?
Well, like, I mean, you punch the tree like 4 or 5 times first, and then little blocks of wood fly out of it,
Yeah.
and then the last hit that blows it up. 20 strength is D&D nerds. It's the most, like, a human can't naturally have 20 strength. I think it does take a couple of punches, but yeah, you could knock a tree down. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of trees around here. You could punch like some scrub bushes. So I think instead
Well,
you're
that
gonna have
just
to be
looks
punching
childish.
yeah, I think you'd have to be punching a rock, right? Like
why
you
don't
found
you
a
just punch your-
boulder.
Yeah. You just
Punch
use-
yourself.
And you're just
That's what I
doing-
do.
Well, this is the thing is like, yeah, the boulder would have like blood on it from you punching it, but it would also be like cracked, right? Like you're strong enough that if you keep hitting it, eventually the boulder will crack and break. And yeah, I mean, 20 strength is a lot. You're very strong. So
Well, I'm trying to think. Because my idea was like I just had to get the anger out, so I was punching trees. But if there's no trees, it's not like I'm just looking at a fucking flowering plant and just like tearing it up. Like,
fucking bush, I hate you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure what you see in terms of what you're following, but there's definitely like an angry warpath left behind for sure from where I stormed off. I don't know what that is, but that's whatever you want to imagine that makes the most sense. That's what you see.
I actually just like I stand there and you hear like a match just fire up. I just start smoking. And I just let my presence be known to see if you like
Mhm.
say anything or turn around.
I think when you finally find me, I'm like hunched over with like my head in my hands. And even when you like light your match, it doesn't like phase me or anything. I'm not running away, but it's just you just see me kind of just like this. My hands are probably if there was a close up shot, you'd see my hands are like stressed as if I'm like squeezing my head.
Mm-hmm. And after a bit of silence, since I know you know I'm there,
Mhm.
I'll just say, "What's eating you?"
It's probably a a pretty large gap of time before you get a response, and I think I take my head out of my hands and stand up, and I'll be fine. I just couldn't be there. It was too easy. He could have done that for me, 10 Pillars. For her. But he did it for some fucking stranger.
He couldn't, though. That was the problem. He couldn't do that for his beloved. He couldn't do it for yours. I don't know if she's beloved or not, but they weren't furnished with souls. They're from another place. I think if Ramus could have brought, I forget her name, but if he could have brought her back, he would have.
Probably get another long thing of silence. And did it work?
It did. He's back. And in true dwarven fashion, and when I walked away, he was rambling on about owing a debt, that sort of thing. So I'm assuming that we now have 2 dwarves on our side when we reach the stronghold.
If he holds this over my head, 10 Pillars, I don't know what's going to happen.
If who does?
If Ramus, if he brings this up, some holier than thou attitude, I swear to God. Whichever ones you want me to swear to. This is part of his bullshit religion.
What do you believe, Maharid?
Really? This is what you're going to
Yeah.
ask me now.
Well, do you have religion? It's difficult for me to suss out. You seem to be angry at, well, pretty much everything.
I'm not going to go into it now. She meant a lot. I guess I'm just now realizing that. But whatever Ramus is doing, it's for his own good, his own selfish needs. I'm starting to realize that now more and more.
Well, while that is most probably true, do not our collective needs coincide with his at the moment?
They do.
So, for the moment, we all want the same thing. But I see what he's trying to do. Well, I know you see it. Not sure how far he'll make it. A lot of people have put themselves on a pedestal of being a new way. I've seen them come. I've seen them go. Ramus has power, and he's very influential when dealing with him one-on-one. Do you think he has the follow-through to set the foundation of a new world that he envisions?
That's the thing, 10 Pillars. It doesn't matter if he does or not. I'm to make sure that he follows through regardless. To put him in positions where he's always successful. It was this bet I made so that he could continue to live.
You think your anger, at least in part, comes from your distaste for servitude. The servitude that you put yourself in.
I'm not upset that I saved a friend's life. I'm upset that he seems to not care for my own goals, my own wants, and only his.
I understand that. But you've been around Ramus Krill long enough to know that after 5 minutes of talking to him, I knew it. What you said is always going to be true. Ramus is for Ramus, first and foremost. And a distant second is anything else.
You are not wrong. But what is your point?
I just want to get to the heart of your anger, the heart of your distress, to see if there's anything to be done. Because you're a frightening person, Maharib. And with that conversation we had before about you and your relationship to this weapon, you haven't gotten any less frightening. I just want to check in with you from time to time to make sure that what you said about being able to control it is still holding true.
I walked away because I am still in control. If I wasn't, I would have struck Ramus down.
All right.
There is this amazing like tension that you guys are building towards that I really love, and I was gonna save talking about it until later, but I don't want to forget. There is this moment I can see it coming. Like I if I imagine the future where Ramus, who has been trying so hard to be like selfless, needs to convert Maharib, not because he wants Maharib to follow his religion, but because he wants Maharib to believe in him. Right? He wants to believe that it's possible for him to become something different than he is. And if Maharib rejects him, we're like one bad conversation away from Dark Emperor Ramus Krill, right? Where he's just like, fine then, fuck you. I will just earthquake all your cities into the ground. Like, we're this close. It's so good. You guys are doing such a good job with that. I love it. I just wanted to like fan out about it for a second. Anyway, sorry. Continue. Couldn't help myself anymore.
I honestly think that was where I was going to leave the conversation. I was going because he said I'm in control for now, and I know that if I probe or push anymore, I'm just going to do more harm than good. So I fuck off.
But yeah, I think the scene is that we see you, and we see the pipe, like the pipe embers, kind of like fade off into the, because it's nighttime, so it like fades off into the shadow. Mm-hmm. I think once he leaves, I'll put my hand on the axe and just say like, how much more of this? I think like how far am I supposed to go with this? What's the end? And I'll close my eyes, and if I don't get a response, I get upset and I like pull out my dagger and put blood onto it.
Make a religion check.
13.
13? Okay. So the axe communicates. The axe is a channel for some larger alien entity that communicates its will to you in limited, strange ways. The axe predominantly feeds you positive or negative, like reactions to your emotions. The axe, I think you feel a sense of almost like a teacher that is like, yes, you're learning, like good, right? So the feeling you get from the axe is like your suspicion is appropriate, right? we put you in this position to safeguard our plans, which happen to be Ramus for now. But like you're beginning to understand that your role could be protector or executioner. And the axe is like, good, you're becoming prepared for what we might need you to do in the future.
There's probably something reassuring, or not reassuring, but calming to that. Like that Maharib still has a choice in the matter. It is not sworn to one side or the other. And so maybe that's what finally does does start to calm Maharib down, and in due time he'll go back to the camp in probably 15 or 20 minutes.
Hey everybody, my name is Maharib. I like long walks in the forest, and this is my axe. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
Never try to get between me and my axe. I don't like religion. I don't like monsters.
It's true.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that feeling of being empowered by your ability to choose is absolutely reassuring. Where it's like, listen, we have many plans, and the axe and the alien power behind it seems to approve of your distrust of Ramus and his power.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing that Maharib rallies against, is this idea that heaven has divined a path for everyone. And so if Maharib is thinking that he's on some path by some fucking weapon or some powerful being, then that's the upsetting part of it. So it's probably the most reassurance or calming that he's had, this idea that he has a choice. That the axe says that he has a choice.
It's like the feeling you get is that the dark powers chose you for a reason. It wasn't just you were there. It was like there are hard decisions for you to make, and they might involve, killing somebody close to you, but that's okay. That's good. You're reassured. That feeling of like, yes, your homicidal urges are okay, and like sometimes people need to die for good things to happen.
That's from the outside looking in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's good that you are prepared for what you might have to do.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So 10 Pillars, you return to camp first, right? Because Maharib is like, I need a minute to brood out here with my friend, the axe.
Yep.
So you return to the camp, and while they're gone, I just wanted to give an opportunity. Berg, do you want to talk to anybody? Like the dwarves are sitting and talking, but I imagine they would be okay with like talking to you. You haven't introduced yourself yet. Or do you like keep to yourself? Do you talk to Ramus? I just want to give you a chance, because we've had kind of observational Berg, right? Berg, who is sitting and watching everybody else have feelings and thoughts. But I wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anybody you want to interact with.
Berg have feeling and thoughts too.
Yeah. I mean, also you could just be sitting there pining for your hot girlfriend back home, right? Like that also is a thing. Like there are these two dwarves who are like, hugging and talking, and like obviously it's a reunion, and there's some emotion there. So I don't know, maybe you do just like hang out by yourself, and you're like, oh, love, I have that. I have a girlfriend. She lives in a cave. You don't know her. But listen, do you want to do anything, or do we? What do we see?
Doesn't live in a cave. There's a lot of girlfriends in this realm that lives in caves.
It's true. A lot of people live in caves here. So,
he might inquire a little bit to the dwarves. Like he approached them and be like,
I wanted to talk to you too, if that is okay.
You walk over to the dwarves.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, when you say that, they both look over, and the Erishtum stands, and he looks up at you, and he puts out his hands, palms up, in it's a dwarven gesture, a greeting gesture. A lot of dwarven communication involves like touch, like specific ways of touching a person. It's just part of their language. And this is a gesture of like trust and intimacy, because he's opening his arms. He's not protecting his chest anymore. He's not wearing any armor. He has no weapons. So he just puts his hands out to you. You were supposed to, I mean, the response to this is to put your hands on top of his, but grabbing his wrists would indicate like acknowledgement of his weakness, right? It would be putting him in his place. So you have a couple of options here, but if you want to be like, we're equals, you would put your hands on top of his, and then you would, you both like turn your hands over together. indicating like,
Yeah.
we're vulnerable
Yeah,
together.
Berg would
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you do that, and he looks up at you, and he says, my beloved told me of your bravery, your prowess against the trolls. I would have loved to have seen it. Your weapon and your armor are very fine, and I understand you wield them well. Thank you for helping us.
You're welcome. I was.
He says, yeah, go ahead.
No, good. It's fine. I was still forming a thought.
He was just going to introduce himself because he hasn't yet, right? He says, that's the way he would say it would be like, I have heard your name as a gift from another, but I would have it from you. But I give mine first. In gratitude, I am Erishtomb, unadorned, First Circle brewer. Newly born, I suppose, thanks to you.
I know something about that, too. I am Berg. Reborn. I guess we share that.
And he looks up at you, and it's like, you feel that moment of like, oh, like actually, wow, we have that in common. That is weird. And he leans in sort of conspiratorially, like gets a little closer to you, and he says, well, we don't have to tell the others our secrets. He like gives you a wink, and he says, your armor, your weapon, this belt, you stride the earth like a king. I haven't seen armor that my brother would love to see that. It's dwarven make, isn't it?
It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a
Nice.
fancy name, and you got it from the Horde. Now, this is where it's a bit delicate because, and if 10 Pillars were here, 10 Pillars would be like, careful, Berg, because you got it from the Horde
I know where I got
of the Dwarven Queen who lived in the volcano that is now occupied, and they lost it, right? They don't know where this thing is, and if the dwarves find out that there are a bunch of dirty fire cultists living in their sacred hall, they are going to kill the shit out of them, so careful now. So he says to you, it's dwarven make, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
He nods, and he says, I have no skill for crafting metal myself, but my brother, his skill is considerable. He made a bracer for our king. May his tomb stand 1,000 years. Glorious is he, buried beneath the mountain. And he looks over, and Adikur rolls her eyes like, yeah, I know. And she kind of like talks along with him. And then he says, things are going to be complicated at the Citadel, but when we bring you there, I would have you come and meet my family. Not just so they can see your armor, but so that I can tell them what you did for us.
That might be nice. When did your clan, group, tribe, whatever, when did they stop?
He just leaves it at that, like he's quiet for a second. It's
Yeah,
very
and he
obvious what he's
looks
talking
a little confused, and he looks at Adikur, and she gives him a like, you know what he's talking about. Like, don't pretend like you don't. And he, a bit admonished, looks at you, and he says, far later than we should have. A mistake of foresight that we continue to pay to this day and will until the clan's blood runs dry. I am sorry, Berg.
Don't be sorry that you changed for the good. I am happy. I did not know what to make of you and your...
He nods and takes over so you don't have to kind of like feel awkward. Like he's just like, let me just pile that social burden on me. And he says, I understand. Many of my kind are not so caring for yours. We have much work to do. Relationships to repair. Forgiveness to seek. And not all of my siblings are so enthusiastic. But if you come with us to the Citadel, I assure you, you will not be mistreated.
It is good to meet dwarves like you. I would like to meet more. And I did not think I would say that in my life.
And I did not know that I would ever meet a free orc wearing dwarven armor. It has been a strange day for both of us, I think.
Well, reborn again. We make the most.
I intend to, friend. And he looks around. I think he like shivers a little, and he looks around and he's like, I'm loath to ask more of you, but you and your friends, you wouldn't have any dwarf-sized clothes, would you? This cloak is fine, to be sure, but I would like to be able to give it back to you, and I fear it would be a waste of all the time and effort. He kind of glances over at Ramus. If I were to simply die in the middle of the night due to cold.
Yes, I see.
Do we have clothes? I mean, I don't know. If we can
I mean, I don't
extra
imagine you're
clothes
just
there.
carrying around a suit of dwarven clothes with
I don't
you.
think so. No.
You could probably like
Give them
try, or maybe
supplies or
somebody could.
something
Like,
to-
does anyone?
cobble
This is
something
what
together.
this is the funny bit. Does anyone in the party have proficiency with tailor's tools or something like it? Like, can anyone sew? Can we take in someone else's extra clothes for this guy?
I can make him some crude armor.
I made you this sick metal cod piece.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably not going to keep you warm, but it'll make your dick look cool. So
Just reminding me of
Because-
that part in Three Amigos where they're like, we can sew. Sew, old one, sew like the wind.
yeah. So you have clothes. You could try.
We can try to make something better than nothing.
He nods and says, just to keep the cold out. Anything you might have. I'm bereft, as you see.
Oh, dude, this is gonna be so silly, but I have a set of like official clothes that I keep nice and clean and stuff like that, and I have a set of
Mhm.
traveler's clothes. I have my traveler's clothes on right now, obviously, but I can
Yes.
give him like clothes that are of my office, and they're like they'd be super baggy on him, and it look all fancy schmancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could try to tailor him down a little, but yeah, you could make him essentially wear your dress uniform.
Yeah.
Which would be very offensive to the people back at head office, but funny to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
appreciate
reasonable. Like Ramus has some extra clothes from the void and whatever. You could probably, I think, as a group, put together an outfit for this poor guy.
Sure.
Mhm.
Cool. So Maharib, do you come back to the camp or do you sleep
Yeah, after-
outside the raid, sleep in the moonlight?
No, I definitely do after, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes after 10 pillars left. I show back up or kind of walk back up to the camp. I think to just get the awkwardness out of the way. I walk up to the dwarf, the now resurrected dwarf. I speak
Aristim.
common, like, do you speak the common tongue?
he nods and says, yes, but not well. Please, slowly.
Understood. I just wanted to say welcome back.
I understand you, a hand in that, have my thanks I give you, free of debt. But if in need you find yourself, then I will try to help.
Thank you. You as well.
And he nods, and you notice his glance like flick to the axe. And he makes a concerned face, like he sees something that worries him. But he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to have him in broken common explain why he doesn't
Totally
necessarily understand the axe. I think I realized I noticed that he did that. Walk over to 10 Pillars, and he doesn't like the axe as well. Perhaps when you go into the village or wherever it is with the dwarves, I'll stay outside at least till you can give them forewarning. I don't want to cause commotion.
That would probably be wise.
Hmm.
But they are going to have to see you eventually.
Yes.
All right.
Better you prepare them, though, for
Yes, that's
whatever
something
it is.
I'm not unfamiliar with. I'll try and smooth the path for you.
Great. I'm going to get some sleep.
Me as well.
Yeah. So I go find whatever to lie down. I don't know if I have a cot, but I think I do.
I find some rocks, and next to them, a smaller rock.
Nice,
I put my head
rock.
on the little rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Okay, yeah. So everybody gets some rest. You take turns watching. You don't get attacked in the middle of the night or anything.
Great.
But I think who has like dawn watch? Who is the person who's like woken up early to take the last watch?
I wouldn't mind
I think
getting up early, but if whoever really wants to. I think I was pretty hurt, so maybe Ramus does.
Yeah, I think I would do
Yeah.
the first watch, the last watch.
Okay. So Ramus, you were awakened by whoever is before you, and maybe you've started like working on breakfast or something, and Adikor wakes up as well, and maybe she helps you with whatever you're doing, and doesn't. Yeah, I mean it's you're quiet because everybody else is sleeping, and you want to be on the like listen for danger. So Adikor doesn't talk, but there is a amicable silence between the two of you, at least on her part. And at one point, she is carrying like a pot, maybe. And she's like picking it up. She's going to pick it up from the fire to take it off of the fire to let it cool. And you're not looking at her, but you hear her gasp and drop the pot, and you hear the splash of like whatever was inside. And when you turn, she's standing staring up at something, and the pot is lying on the ground with whatever breakfast stew you were making, the reheated stew from the night before, is like on the ground, and she's just like staring up at something. And if you follow the line of her gaze, just above the morning clouds, the early kind of cloud layer, just above that, there is a serpentine winged shadow moving overhead. And she looks up at it, and she's just like, oh fuck, what is that? And she just points, trembling. What do you do?
At first, I try to get a good look to see if it's the wind serpent we saw before. Like if
Make a perception check. It could be a wyvern. Hard to say.
17.
Did you get 17?
17.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So the silhouette, you recognize it. Very long and sinuous. It seems to be approaching. It's like making a bank around to come down to where you are.
Okay, I immediately tell her, I know it's weird, but we know there's someone on there, and we know her. It's not a threat.
She just continues to stare and she nods like,
Why don't you go comfort your husband? He's probably had a rough night. He could use a little comfort,
And-
I bet.
she nods like, thank you for giving me an excuse to not be any part of this. And then she goes over to her husband, who's lying there curled up like a ball, and she sits down next to him and just like watches from a slight distance. So the shadow breaks the cloud layer above you, and you do indeed see the sort of silvery scales of Loom, and Loom makes an arc around and starts coming down towards you.
I go and gently like wake the others who don't seem too into sleep, and just tell them like Loom is here, just in case anyone wants to speak with her as well.
Okay. So you start waking everybody up, and as everybody is kind of like rising and they're like, Loom, like, oh yeah, the dragon, like that's okay. You look and you see this serpent, and it flies in and it alights on a rocky outcropping above you. Two things are amiss. One, it's wearing its saddle, but no one is in it. And two, it has a spear sticking out of its chest and several other like deep wounds. And I think at a glance, Ramus, you notice like a black like mold or a discoloration that is like spreading out from the spear that's sticking out of its arm. And it lands and it kind of like shakes its head frustratedly and like makes this low kind of hissing sound.
It looks hurt. How far away is it? Like, is it?
It's keeping its distance. It's keeping its distance from you. It's like I don't know, like 200 feet, maybe. It's at the edge of the little like kind of valley that you're in, and it's up top, and it's looking at you. Like it obviously came here, like drawn by the whistle or whatever. Something drew it to you, but its rider is missing and it's injured. So it looks confused. It doesn't really know what it's doing. So it lands here and it like hisses and like looks around and kind of like it's clear that it's injured and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. I pull out the whistle and I try to play like a little song, like try to mimic what I heard her play that one time, like just a little bit, just to let it know I'm there, so I'm not sneaking up on it.
Yeah, and when you play it, it makes that same sound, right? Like it has. This dragon has some kind of like multi-tiered vocal cord situation where the noise that it makes is like several tones at once, which the whistle is attempting to like mimic. So it makes this sort of roaring sound, and then again angrily like shakes its head and like claws at the rocks.
All right,
can I since I have this robe that's I can use, if I look at this dragon, can I make a perception check to see like if there's something specifically wrong with it or something different about it or anything like that from the last time I saw it?
The big difference is that it's got a spear sticking out of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, besides the obvious.
Yeah. That determining if something is wrong with it is going to be a medicine check.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I start moving until I'm within 60 feet of it. Like,
okay, yeah. So you're approaching. Okay. Well, let's have 10 pillars make that medicine check.
Okay. 12.
You know, I mean, I think you're just drawn by the obvious stuff. Black mold, spear, obvious battle wounds. And as you, Ramus, as you get closer, right, you're approaching, it like makes another shriek at you, this multi-tonal shriek. And if it wasn't so goddamn terrifying, it would be beautiful to hear. but I need you to make a saving throw. I think it's a wisdom save. Sorry, I just need to grab the stat block for this thing.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the DC is on the fear aura. So yeah, here, look how cute it is. Look at him. He's adorable.
I hate that you have a token for it.
I mean, just in case.
Yeah.
Sure. Right.
Ramus, make a wisdom save. Because you're within 120 feet. So if you want to try to get closer, it frills its neck bits open. One of them has got a big deep gouge in it. And it roars at you, but it's not, don't think of it as a low noise. It's a series of high pitched, shrill sounds. And it just
19?
shrieks at you. You're okay.
19?
You can continue. You feel the fear, the atavistic fear wash over you, and your lizard brain is terrified, but your logical brain, your human brain is nope, one foot in front of the other. Let's go. Keep moving. So you can continue to approach.
Okay.
Are you gonna do a spell, Ramus? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep approaching until I'm within 60 feet of it.
If I can get an action in, I think that shriek that he just did probably woke me up. I think I ignored Ramus for obvious reasons. He was trying to get people up, and I heard the shriek. I think I come out of the tent.
It's super loud. You're Ramus when he does that, you're almost okay, I'm not scared, but if I keep getting closer to it, that noise is gonna blow my eardrums. So you gotta be careful. But yeah, so Maharib, you wake up and you see this. The axe immediately is just fuck yeah, let's kill it.
I'm trying to think what it would be that would. I guess I'll make the roll. I want to make an animal handling check to see if I know any way to soothe said monster with a call that I have known in the past. I don't know if this is going to be a thing that I know. It'll depend on the roll, and I will use
nature. Nature is what you know. Animal handling is the physical doing of the thing.
Yeah, this will be the physical doing of the thing.
Well, yeah. So nature would get you clues. Animal handling would be whatever you do, helps calm it down.
I wouldn't just know innately, though. I couldn't just make a straight up animal handling roll, and then if it goes well, it goes well. If it goes poorly,
you can. Yeah, you definitely can. But you're just treating it like any dangerous animal. Then, if you wanted to make a nature check, I could tell you here is a thing that you would know about that might help. But if you want to just straight up animal handling, you can just put your hands up and be I'm going to just move towards you slowly and
I
don't think animal handling would work on a dragon because it doesn't have animal intelligence.
It's acting like a wounded animal, though. And sometimes I would almost there are situations where I would allow animal handling on a person if they're acting like an animal,
feral,
right? If a person was acting feral and you wanted to just be hey, it's okay. So I think the tactic is appropriate if you want to treat it and also I think Maharib probably thinks it's an animal. I don't imagine that Maharib is very well, good sir. If you could just calm down a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make the flat animal handling roll then. But go ahead, Zeke.
Never mind. I was going to say I'm proficient in animal handling, but I don't know if
you're proficient in everything, dude.
No, I know. But I don't know if I would regard it as an animal. Go ahead, Maharib. That's why I said never mind.
Okay. I mean, I'm proficient as well, but it's probably not with your +9 or whatever, right?
Can't fight. Might as well have something you're good at.
No, I'm just saying your proficiency's higher. If maybe you want to help me or something.
10 builders. Yeah, you can totally help, right? You can be standing behind Maharib. I mean, it's a classic scene, right? Where there's the person trying to calm the animal down, and then there's another person off screen or in safety being careful. Yeah. No, too soon. Right? That kind of background coaching is totally acceptable. That's a normal thing. So
then I will definitely help with this.
If he's helping, that just gives me advantage, so I don't need to use inspiration, correct?
Advantage and a D6.
Ah, yep. Okay, great.
Inspiring help.
Super guidance.
Cool. Here's the roll. 18 plus.
Nice, 18.
19.
19. All right.
Good.
Okay. So this animal handling skill will allow you to approach. It's not going to automatically calm it down or anything like that, but it won't just try to bite you and kill you. You can get closer. So Maharib, you make yourself clearly not a threat. You're do you put your axe down and approach, or do you still have it on you?
I think because it woke me up, the axe is where I was sleeping, so it's not on me.
Right. So the camera clearly indicates the axe is behind you and you're just coming up unarmed.
Yeah.
The dragon notices, right? Loom sees this and like lets out this low kind of like hissing sound, like to indicate like I'm still annoyed. Don't come any closer. I probably won't bite you, but like I'm still mad.
Yeah.
And so it just like hisses.
Okay.
And as you get closer, I don't think it's not going to try to frighten you, but you can't like the closer you get, the more kind of up on its hackles it gets. Its wings kind of like flutter up a little, and its back goes up, its tail flicks in the air. It's clearly still agitated.
Yeah.
But Ramus, you want to get within 60 feet?
Yes.
Okay. Can you make an animal handling check to do that? Or if you have another trick, like you overcame your fear, but it still doesn't trust you, and there's a roll that needs to get made here, but you can tell me how you kind of do this. Because if you speak Draconic?
No.
Okay, all right. So you can't like address it as an equal or whatever because you don't share a language.
I guess the only thing I have is an animal handling check, and I'll use my inspiration for advantage.
Okay.
16.
16. Okay. So I don't think that 16 is sufficient. But it's not like it takes away your opportunities. Here's what happens. You get within 60 feet, and when you do, Loom kind of snaps at you, right? And it isn't like, I'm going to try to kill you, but it's like, back the fuck up. And
pulls out a little dagger and he starts shaking.
Yeah, well, it's like, this is my personal space. Like its tail is whipping back and forth. And so what I think it does is, it's not a full breath attack or anything, but what Loom does is the wings kind of snap out suddenly, sail-like, and then just beat hard once, and a big gust of air rushes over you as you get closer. Can you make just make a dexterity save to see if it knocks you down? Okay.
12.
All right. So you're gonna take some damage, and you're gonna fall down, and then I'll tell you what happens next. So it's not much. It's bludgeoning damage. I mean, I say not much, but it could like kill 10 peasants in one hit. You take 15 bludgeoning, get knocked down.
Wow.
And then immediately, Loom leaps off of the platform, the little like rock that they're on, jumps off and lands right on top of you. Now, doesn't pin you down or anything, but does that like I'm a big animal and you're a little animal thing where it's one claw on either side of you. You're lying down, one claw on either side of you, and then its big head looking right down at you, and you're in its shadow, and it's got its wings all spread out, and you can see the morning sunlight drifting through its wings. They're semi-transparent. And it's like, honestly, like kind of beautiful, this like shifting pattern of gray and blue. But also there's a big angry dragon up on top of you. And she looks down and like growls at you and is like right in your face. What do you do?
I shout a word in Celestial that she could probably understand, and I cast a heal on her.
Yeah.
And
okay.
It heals her for 70 hit points. Ends blindness, deafness, and any diseases affecting her.
Perfect. Okay. So you say this word. We've heard it before, right? It echoes in everyone's ears. Probably the dwarves like touch their heads like, oh, what the hell? Because they like heard this celestial word in their soul. And we watch as first her like superficial injuries heal up, right? All the like the knife wounds and stuff, and those all heal up. And then the spear slowly like pushes itself out of the wound and clatters to the floor as the spreading like mold or the sickness or whatever turns to little black motes of dust that sort of like lift off of the body and float away, leaving no injury underneath. And Loom looks at the wound, kind of like, and then confused looks at you and looks at the wound again, and then just like headbutts you slightly. Like you're pinned under it, and she just kind of like bonks you with her head and like rubs her head against you, and then makes another kind of little low growling sound. But this is different. This is more like a purr than a like a hiss or a growl. And she very slowly like backs off away from you. And if you're still on the ground, she reaches out and picks you up and lifts you to your feet and drops you on your feet. and then does a full body nose to tail dog shaking off water thing where she just like shivers from the tip of her nose back to her tail, and then stretches her wings and her claws and kind of is just like feels better. And then tilts her head and looks at you like, what's happening? What's going on? Why did you summon me here?
She still have like the spear sticking out of her, or she had spear strikes?
Nope. The spear is on the ground now, sort of just laying there with blood dripping around it.
Okay.
And she's in fine health. She looks good.
I'm
Looks
like,
she's
I'm
okay.
cautiously stepping towards the spear to like, one, get it out of her range, and also I want to investigate the spear. But yeah.
So when you get closer, not to her, but to Ramus, she steps in front of Ramus, like she puts a claw in front of Ramus and like growls at you, like stay away from him.
Yeah, I like grab the tip of the spear, then just like throw it behind me, and then like cautiously.
Yeah.
walk back.
And she watches it,
Unsafe.
and she watches you throw
The
it,
poison.
and then looks at you. my thought was the real gag here would be if you threw the spear, she would run and get it and come back and give it to you. But it's a spear that just poisoned her. So you pick it up and you throw it away, and she watches it and then looks at you and nods. She's just like, good. Yeah, get that thing the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I cautiously walk back. I'm headed towards the spear to investigate what I can glean from it.
Yeah. And then she kind of moves her claw to give Ramus some room, and she comes up and she looks at 10 pillars and looks at Berg and like blinks her eyes, and she has those what are they called, nictating membranes over her eyes. So she's like thick, clear films that go like over her eyes, and when she blinks, so she kind of blinks twice. And she comes up, she blinks a couple of times, and she looks at Berg. She like sniffs Berg, and then she turns, like sniffs at 10 pillars and nods like, I know you. We've met before. And then she slowly turns her head towards the dwarves, who are both like clinging to each other, like, oh God, I don't want to die again. I was just dead, please. And she takes a couple of like quick, like she moves kind of like somewhere between a gecko and a cat in the sense that she's very still most of the time, and there's these like sudden bursts of speed. And so she like rushes forward towards them, and they both are like, and like back off and run away. And she hisses, and then she looks over her shoulder at you, Ramus, and like grins. Like there's no other way to describe it. Like she's just this little grin at you, like, look, I scared the dwarves.
I make a gesture to her to come here.
Does anybody in the party speak Draconic?
Negative.
Okay, yeah. So it's funny because all these noises she's making and all of her like hissing and stuff, she's actually talking, but no one can understand her, and we just don't get subtitles. She's like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you indicate like, hey, come over here or whatever, like she turns, she can understand gestures. She doesn't speak common, but she can understand gesturing and stuff like that.
If she gets into touch range, I would like to cast a spell on her.
Okay.
I reach
You're
out.
the only one that she'll let that close.
I'll touch her and cast tongues on her so she can speak to us.
Okay. So you cast the spell on her, and you touch her, and she shivers again. She feels some magical effect, and then kind of looks around, and then looks at you like, what did you do?
What's up?
That's what she sounds like, funny enough. She's just
hey guys, what's going on?
A stoner bro, surfer
Thanks
bro.
for healing me. That was wicked awesome. I feel awesome.
What's up, dogs? I'm Loom, the smoke dragon.
Yeah. Brings her talons over. Sub bros.
Yeah. You guys want to blaze one? So who is the first person to speak? Like, Ramus, do you say something, or?
Yeah, I say, can you understand me now?
Have you ever seen any of those videos where like a tiger gets scared and like leaps into the air?
Oh yeah.
In surprise? That's what happens.
It's like when the panda sneezes. That gif.
Exactly, yeah. So when you speak, she's just like, and like leaps up in the air, jumps back 10 feet, and like lands all crouched looking at you like, what the fuck just happened? And then kind of like stretches a little, and she's like, why do I understand you?
The magic used to heal your wounds can temporarily let you understand our crude tongue.
And she nods and she says, "Thank you." She reaches up and like touches the space where the spear was. "I thought I was to die. Now I live. Feel the clouds again."
What happened to your rider?
And yeah, she snarls and hisses, and like you can see all of her horrible needle teeth. And she snarls and like lashes her head back and forth. Her tail like whips a rock, and she says, "Gone, taken."
What direction? Do you know what kind of creatures?
She nods slowly and she says, "The dead that are not dead. They came, wounded me. Couldn't help. Now she's gone with them." She sighs and she says, "I would go, but I cannot go. I am but one, and they are many. I know when I will be bested. The witch that lives there," shakes her head like, "Ugh."
Did you go to the place with the tall, bright tower of the sun?
She nods. "The human monastery. Though not so human now, I think. Others dwell there." And then she squints and like leans in real close. And with one hand, and she's very, very gentle if you let her do this, she's like reaches up towards you and she grabs your face between two of her fingers. She looks at you and says, "Wait, I know you."
Do you remember when we met last?
She shakes her head. Before that, years and years, you were a hatchling then. I remember you and the others.
So, I wasn't seeing things in the clouds that day.
And she nods.
They all thought I was crazy that I seeing a dragon. I thought something was in the sky.
And she shrugs and she says, "Not safe to be shown. This was before all was bad. I flew in peace then. Now, no peace. Not even in the sky."
No, the dead have ruined all peace.
Kayu told me these lawbreakers, no respect for death. They're everywhere, more and more, all the time. I heard the whistle call, could not come. But now you will help me. We will go and save her. Come." And she like lets one wing out and just leans over, like, "Get on, let's go. Get in, bitch. We're going shopping."
Well, I'm afraid if we did that, we would still be the same number that got attacked. And once again, I would be captured and then you would be hurt again. And who would heal you then?
Kind of looks at you like, Then
We-
what?
We have to gather allies, for the undead are many and strong. Do you know
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know where worshippers of the air are around here?
shakes her head sadly. None remain. All gone. Once, symphony of prayers. Now, dead silence.
That is a travesty. For the air fills all of our lungs, and yet we don't give her the praise she deserves.
And she's like smelling like she's just noticed something. She leans in and just without any shame, just takes a big nostril full of you. And she says, I thought as much. I smell them on you, all of you. The fire. They are back. Good. Good. This is good. Where? Where are they?
It's not safe for you to rejoin them yet. You must remain in hiding for a while. Stay to the clouds. They can't reach you there. But you can hear the whistle. I plan to destroy that place which holds her. And if she is alive, by God, we will save her. But we're not strong enough yet.
Loom nods and turns to the others, to Berg and Maharib and Ten Pillars. And now that you can understand her, she says, I'm sorry I scared you.
It's all right.
You did not scare me.
Yeah, what he said. Obviously, I was scared of shit.
Yeah. She just kind of like wrinkles her face a little.
I can't speak for them, obviously, but you definitely scared the life out of me.
And it's as if you just gave her a compliment. Like she does the giant dragon version of a curtsy. Like she kind of like lowers herself and like spreads her wings out a little, like, thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah, I
she
kind of
turns to Ramus. Yeah, she turns to Ramus and she says, Man priest, you have the whistle. Call on me. I will wait. Not forever. You take too long. I must go to this cursed place and save her myself. You understand?
Ramus, before...
Yes, my friend.
Pardon me for interrupting, but if I may address you, Loom, if you'll permit me.
She like looks down at you and nods.
While we have business to attend to at the moment, and while you await the whistle's call, have you, first a question, have you seen a group of soldiers, men soldiers, humans, like myself, dressed in, and I describe like the armor of the Court of Swords. They would be a small group. They have a leader. It would probably be barricaded, holed up somewhere, or on the move.
I know these
men. Are you
men.
familiar? You do.
You're looking for Southern Wind.
Yes, indeed.
I have long watched that one. Blessed his birth. His parents were smart. Made the right offerings. I thought he was dead. I lost him. There are no words for mortal ears to explain. The sense was lost. But if you say he still lives, this is good to know. I do not know why then I cannot feel his presence, but I wish I could help more. If you find him and find out why I cannot feel him any longer, I would like to know. He is my charge, in a way.
So you have looked for them then? Or him
Of
at
course.
least?
The offerings were made at his birth. I watched over him as best I could.
You do not know where his people are now then?
Hidden from me somehow. Or gone. Taken.
Well, I was going to request that while we were finishing our business and you were waiting for us to call on you, if you could search for them, but if that is an impossibility, then I will refrain from asking.
If you wish to be hopeful that this man yet live, consider it could be hidden from my senses by magic. It would make sense to hide that way. He has a powerful enemy. An enemy you know.
All too well.
And she turns to Ramus. Yeah. So go ahead.
Could you take me to the skies so I may see the armies of the undead briefly and then bring me back? Just so I know how much of a force we'll need.
She nods. And again,
I would like to
kneels
scout
down
the
and
area.
kind of like turns to be like, "Hey, hop on, let's go."
I climb up onto the saddle.
Just a never-ending story moment that's about to happen.
You rotten bastard. I was about to type that in chat, you son of a bitch.
I mean, that's the first thing where my mind goes.
Turn around.
That's what the three of us, Berg's the
Yeah.
I don't know my
The rock biter.
yeah. Me and Tim Pillars break into song.
I have the racing snail.
Yep. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Oh boy.
Come on, can you say they look like big, strong hands in Berg's voice, please? Just for me.
I don't even think this is the first time I've said this, but here you go.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think so.
These hands used to be big, strong hands.
Yeah. Chills.
Oh, boy.
Chills.
Fucking love that movie.
Yep.
Oh my
I
god.
haven't watched it in a while.
Oh my god. Yeah, that movie it was filmed in Vancouver, and
In
you
the
can
Couve.
really tell that it's right. They filmed it in the Couve, and you can really tell that it's a mixed American and European production because it feels very European sometimes.
Yeah.
So Ramus, you take off with Loom, and you have your fly around moment. I mean, yeah, it's kind of terror inducing because you're suddenly up in the sky flying very quickly.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. But you get a chance to look around. And from up here, the Court of Swords seems like maybe it's in worse shape than we thought. You can see even from just this limited distance, if you look south, it's just like dead fields, rivers choked with debris. Like literally further south, the rivers are like black with like pestilence. The further north you go, the more you can see signs. There's no war anymore, right? There's nobody to fight except Southern Wind, and so it's just a slowly encroaching line of advancement. And I think that you can see probably other places in the distance, other settlements or monasteries or temples or whatever that have been repurposed. It becomes clear to you at a glance that Grave Dirt is the tip of the spear, right? She's part of a vanguard of approaching armies that are now no longer being stopped. Now you can't see far enough to see like a marching advance of a column or anything, but you get a good long look at the land. Why don't you make an investigation check? No, you don't make a perception check or investigation, whichever you're better at. And then you can ask me questions depending on how well you do, and I'll answer them for you.
Okay. 21.
Hey, not bad. Okay. So what do you want to know? What are you looking for in particular?
First, how large of a force does it seem like is at the monastery, like, and surrounding it? Like, how big has she grown?
So the monastery itself, you've been gone like a week and a bit, maybe 2 by now. And all the trees within like, I don't know, they've just finished. It's like a Saruman moment, right? Because you see what used to be the sacred monastery and you remember it having gardens and jungles around it, but now it's all hacked down. All the trees within like a mile of the monastery have just been like torn down, and they're in the midst of building like a military camp around it. So they've expanded out of the walls. The monastery is now the center of what will soon be a much larger staging ground for further advancement to the north. It's clear that they are preparing this. You don't see like a vast army marching around or like getting ready to march or whatever. Just a lot of people hard at work building what will soon be something fairly terrible. So the sooner you strike, the better, because you'll want to talk to 10 Pillars about this, because 10 Pillars has a much, much better handle on how war works and like moving infantry around and stuff. But your impression from watching this is one of ominousness, of like fear.
Yeah. And then does it seem like the monastery is pretty far in front of like the main force, or is it like pretty close, like the mass like debris and all that stuff?
There are miles of like desolation and ruin between here and what you would imagine is the next thing. Like I said, she's the tip of the spear, right? She is the forward vanguard. So yeah, likely if you had to get, well, I mean, you couldn't guess kind of what's going on, but again, we'll have the same conversation with 10 Pillars later when you land.
Yeah, and then I look to the mountains to see if I notice any people moving through it, any caves that have campfires coming out of them, like, or smoke, or any signs of life anywhere along the mountain range that would be noticeable from the sky.
I don't think so, which is both maybe a bit frustrating, but also these mountains, as the Embers learned, as the Dwarves learned, as criminals and runaways from the Court of Swords have learned over the course of many years, these mountains are a fucking awesome place to hide. Like, if you don't want somebody to find you, there are networks of caves up here. There's tons of mountain. Like, this is, if you break out of prison, and I'm sure, having been in prison yourself, you heard lots of stories of dudes being like, when I get out of here, I'm going to go west for the mountains. I'm going to hide up in the mountains. They'll never find me up there. And like, yeah, they probably wouldn't.
And also, there were these 3 bullies when I was a kid, and I want to like fly down and scare them.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. So we see all that happen, right? We see you strafe the bullies, and they run away screaming. One of them pees his pants. One of them jumps into a dumpster to hide. We see all this happen, and then we suddenly snap back to you on Loom's back, and Loom looks back at you and is like, "You're having a never-ending story fantasy, aren't you? Cut that out. Cut it out." But eventually, Loom wheels you around and then flies you back down to your friends. But while Ramus is having a fantasy adventure up in the sky, what are you guys doing down below?
I think we're kicking the dirt and just
kicking
saying,
the
like,
ground.
Same fucking
Everybody's just like,
this piece of shit.
Yeah. I like how he said that at the same fucking time.
Well, I meant to say
It's
it,
so
but my mic was
good.
muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I do love the idea. Yeah, I love the idea that like there's this anticipatory like, yeah, so while this is happening, let's cut to whatever equally cool thing is going on, and everybody's just standing around looking at their watches like, Jesus Christ, Ramus, come on.
Yeah.
And then
I'm probably looking at the
So,
spear
yeah.
or something in actuality, but yeah.
Ooh,
Bert
yeah.
might be interested
So
he'll like look up at the sky and then bring his gaze back to what Maharib is doing and maybe approach and see if Maharib's found out.
interesting. Yeah, if the two of you want to go look at that. Okay. The spear, so I described it as a spear, but on closer inspection, it's more like a harpoon. There is a iron ring right up at so first of all, the blade is, I don't know, like 3 or 4 feet long, and multiply barbed. Probably without the effects of magic, this thing would have been you'd have to cut it out, right? So it's a barbed harpoon. And then there's no way to say this doesn't sound inappropriate. There's a long bone shaft that comes out of the back of it. And then there's a ring, also of metal, where the shaft and the head meet. And it has tied around it a blood-soaked but torn piece of rope. Like there was a rope attached to this at one point, but it broke. The thing itself has a sort of malignant aura to it. It's not made of the same material, but there are probably shards of void iron in this thing. There are probably like you see little bits of it, maybe the edges of the barbs or something. They've formed this extra metal into the spear, into the harpoon. It is a nasty looking weapon.
Okay. I would assume it's poisoned. Can I deduce that or anything? Do I need to make?
Yeah, I was gonna do
check?
like an investigation check. Yeah, the same thing. Yep.
Yeah.
See if what the black stuff
so
was.
why don't somebody can roll with advantage?
I have
Whoever has a higher
+1,
investigation.
Feel free to roll.
I assume it's 10 pillars.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it investigation?
Yeah, 27.
24.
Hot damn. Okay.
You'd have
27
advantage.
because you have help
with
from the
advantage
higher.
27 then, yeah.
It'd be cool if there was an ability that worked inverse to the one that you have that gives the D6. It'd be cool if there was one where it was like, if anybody helps you, you get a D6, right? Where instead of being, because we run into this situation where the person with the help ability is also the person who should be doing the rolling. It'd be cool if there was a way to have, anyway.
Like a receptive ear or something like that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Open to advice.
Yeah. Open for whispers.
There's actually a really cool Apocalypse World move where if you give somebody advice and they follow it, you get experience. But so you, the two of you look at this weapon. It's not poisoned in the sense that it wasn't slathered with poison and then, stabbed, but there is something venomous about it. And you're not sure how you know that. Maybe it's the ominous glint of the bits of void iron in it. Maybe it's the twisted shape of the thing, but you can tell for sure just with a glance that it is, I guess the best way I could put this is it's a god-killing spear. Like it was made to, it does physical harm, sure, but it's a spear for killing gods, right? It's a spear that is innately damaging to entities of a celestial or primordial nature.
I remember someone using an arrow
How
of
big
this
is
kind of thing, but I don't actually remember it, which is so strange. So strange.
Yeah, the weapon seems familiar. I mean, it's
said it was like a harpoon, so I would imagine quite large.
I'm trying to think if it's a hand-thrown harpoon or, you know what? For Berg or Maharib, it's a hand-thrown harpoon, but it almost certainly was launched out of a ballista to hit this person. Like, you could throw it and have the same effect. Berg could definitely throw it hard enough to have the same effect, but it was a ballista bolt originally. Probably you can tell by the notch in the end that you would hook into the thing and fire.
How tall is this thing?
Like 4 feet, maybe a little longer.
Not that big. Okay.
No, yeah, it's just that it's heavy, and the end of it is not like very aerodynamic. You'd have to shoot it pretty fucking hard to get it to go.
Okay. Yeah, I think me and 10 Pillars are kind of like hunched down around it. I call back to Berg. Berg, you need a new spear? Javelin, whatever?
Good. Come in handy.
I point out, like, when we're looking at it, I point out I'm not familiar with this metal. It's do you know what this is? There's little parts of this that kind of stand out.
I have a pretty good idea. You're not going to like the answer. Maybe the
Well, I
dwarves
want
can
to hear
help
it.
us. I'll be right back. I'll walk over to where I was sleeping and grab the axe. And it probably looks really menacing, me walking towards Tintilla with the axe in my hand.
Yeah, I'm just
right.
bent over looking at this thing. You come up behind me with
dwarves.
the axe.
The dwarves that don't really speak common that well, they see you talking. Mahari makes a decision, goes, walks over, gets his axe, and then just walks back over to 10 pillars.
Yeah.
There's probably a brief conversation in Dwarven where where the Erish tomb is like, oh my god, what's going on? And then his beloved Adhikar is like, let's just let them deal with this. Let them work it out on their own. We don't need to get involved.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Maharib, you come striding back.
Yeah. I once again like hunch over, put the blade or the not the blade, but no, I guess it would be the blade of the axe up towards like next to one of the iron shards.
Yeah, at a glance, it is clear that the relationship between the chips in the spearhead, in the harpoon's head, and your axe is the same as the relationship between iron and steel. You have a better refined, more highly like attended to processed version of the same material that's in this thing. But it's in this, it's the equivalent of like, instead of making a nuclear bomb, putting uranium into bullets so that they'll like hurt you worse.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you could do better. You could make a better, more effective weapon if you just took all that uranium and made a nuke out of it, but maybe you don't have the technology for that just yet.
Yeah. So I show the comparison. It's not good, 10 pillars.
No, it is not. Can I suss out what kind of poison it is? Is it like a deadly poison, a magic poison for mind control or anything like that? Or
No, you have to make a
Okay.
medicine check and examine the wound. And actually, I kind of like, rather than continuing to draw it out, I kind of like that as the last line of the episode, right? Of like 10 pillars, Berg and Maharib standing around, looking at the ground at this harpoon nobody is willing to touch for good reason. And and that exchange of like, well, that's not good. No, it is not. And then we go to black.
Berg might not even be able to wield that weapon. Like it might go against his beam.
Yeah, no.
Well, as we're sitting there looking at it, like, this is not good. No, it is not. Then you hear in the distance,
Yeah. Yeah. Like Ramus losing his mind. This is amazing.
Yeah, just
I'm flying.
Yeah, just up in the sky.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right, let's do some shout outs. Call it a show. Zeke, we'll start with you, sir.
You betcha. Oh, what's up, everybody? My name is Ezekiel the Third. You can find me at /Ezekiel_I on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you guys very much for joining us every week. Thank you to Max, Dan, Adam, and JP for being coming along with me on this journey. If you want to catch me, I will be on Drop Frames tomorrow with Troy motherfucking Baker. Yes, Troy Baker Booker. God, but I don't even want to rattle off all of them. There's so many. But he's going to be on the show, Drop Frames tomorrow. That's at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to catch me playing video games just by my lonesome without Troy Baker, I'll be on tomorrow after Drop Frames doing some Tomb Raider. It's the last game for CD Ramathon. Tomb Raider from 1996. We're struggling through all the tank controls and all the old graphics and stuff. We're having a good time. So I'm not sure exactly when because I have a meeting after Drop Frames, but follow my Twitter and you'll find out. But if you don't catch then, I'll be doing a full day on Thursday. So
awesome stuff. Dan, do some shout outs for us, sir.
I'm DansGaming, variety streamer on Twitch. Currently, like in the game drought, trying to figure out what to play next. Thinking about replaying Fallout New Vegas sometime soon. So we'll get modding that up soon. Had an awesome time on today's show. Always fun to RP Ramus and try to change the world one person at a time. That damn Maharib, he's a tough one. But but again, I love doing this every week, and I can't wait for next week. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Thanks for being here. Max, do some shout outs.
Hey, it's me, Max, the one they all pick on.
Aw.
No, I
Max, do your
my
shout
spirit's
outs. What
broken,
the
man.
fuck? Jesus.
I just want to vent.
Have you
It's like a
played
talking
Thor yet?
heads in a reality show. I'm Max Gonzalez, GassyMexican here on Twitch. I'm also a variety streamer. Kind of also in a game drought, replaying through GTA 5. If you guys are interested in that, I think tonight I'm playing Zombie Army 4 with some buds. So if you haven't watched that, go for it. But I hope you enjoyed the show. As always, I enjoyed playing with my buds, and I hope you guys will continue to check out the story. I've seen more and more new people kind of, even on my side, getting more into D&D, and it's really cool to see. So I hope you guys stick around and continue enjoying the show.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for being here once again. I'll go real quick. I forgot that I have to do shout outs now. Zeke already said it. Tomorrow we got Drop Frames. Troy Baker is going to be joining us for the first half of the show. Then we'll probably be playing more Witcher 3 after that. Tomorrow night we got Echoes of Eternity with Jesse Cox, Anna Prosser, Strippin, Bike Man, and Pocket is the guest. Is the cast of that. Saturday, more Roleplay Far Verona with Adam and some other folks on there that I can't name off the top of my head because my brain is failing. And then probably there's more Witcher 3 between now and then. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll see you back here next week for more Court of Swords. Next week on 6 on Tuesday. Adam, do some shout-outs.
I would love to. That's actually how I describe all the RP shows that I'm on. I'm like, yeah, you could tune in on Saturday for Far Verona starring me and some other fuckers. You don't care about them. Don't worry about it. Thanks for coming, everybody. This is a great episode. Big moments for everybody. I'm really looking forward to getting to talk about some of the stuff in the post show. You can find me all over the place, but mostly on Twitter at Skinnyghost or twitch.tv/Adam Coble. I think I just want to give experience and do the thing. Oh, also, go to the community site. We put up the Q&A. If you have questions, I saw, like Max said, I noticed like new people both in my own chat and in JP's every episode. So if you're like, what is this? It's 138 episodes in. I'm so confused. Our unofficial historian, Twilight Borealis, has a couple of threads on the community site, community.itmeJP.com, that explain everything that has happened up until like a couple episodes ago. So go check that out if you're new to the show. It's a good way to catch up. Experience points. I think it's a big working on day for everybody. Yep. We kind of got sidetracked with dwarf and dragon stuff.
That's the name of the,
Ramus,
we're playing Dwarf and Dragons. That's the name of it.
Yeah. Dwarf.
I mean, I
it's
think I might have
and
completed
distractions.
Yeah.
I think it
Maybe.
was. Yeah, we'll see. So
We're just
let's go
giving
through,
away other show names. We're going to see those pop up.
Oh wait, no, I
in a
didn't.
month.
I didn't. For some reason, yeah.
So Ramus, you got you worked on locating Southern Wind. You worked on finding some other worshippers of the primordials. You know that there's no more wind dudes around. And you worked on convincing Maharib, but he is, like you said, making it fucking difficult for you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you worked on all three. So that's whatever that amount is, 50 times your level times 3.
2250.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You had me at the earthquake,
and then
but resurrecting a motherfucker, it's too far. It's too much.
Look at this guy flaunting his magical power. It's like he's the only character with magic in the party. So, like, if one of you was a wizard, you could be like, yeah, that's great, Ramus, but meteor swarm, right? Like,
Yeah.
no one can hold a candle. Old Master Krill. So, Berg, locate Southern Wind, worked on that.
Worked on 2.
In a roundabout way, like,
kind of keep Bonnie safe.
you definitely get the working on, because the thing is that you didn't give up the secret location. There was a moment where you could have fucked that up. You could have been like, oh yeah, I got this from this fire cave that I fuck, because that would have actively endangered Vani. Keeping the volcano safe from the dwarves is keeping her safe from them. There's lots of people trying to make people feel bad, so you're doing it. So that's 2.
Yeah.
And then find out how the remnant cadre treats orcs. I don't know you had any access to that. right? Like
Yeah.
you learned about how these dwarves treat orcs,
Yeah.
but not the cadre app.
Worked
So-
on 2.
Worked on 2, yep. So as you are thinking about if you want to do any rewrites for the next episode, it seems to me, and this is true for everybody, it seems to me like the thing to do would be write goals about the dwarves, because you're gonna go stop at, and I did this to myself. I made them have such a complicated name that I have to look at it literally every time I say it. You're going to Manum Ekbal, which is their fortress. So if you're gonna go there, write goals about that. If you want to get experience, because I think it'll be at least an episode of that, and then Southern Wind. Because if they know where he is, that'll lead you there. Anyhow,
Gotcha.
think about that. Maharib worked on understanding the power behind the axe, worked on guiding the group through the mountains, and worked on locating Southern Wind.
2250.
Another 2250 for you.
Cool.
10 pillars of gold. Worked on all 3, I think. Locate Southern Wind, convince the remnant to join the cause. You got to find them to do it. And then find out how the dwarves are dealing with the threat. You worked on it because you asked some questions, but you won't get to find out for sure until you talk with somebody who actually knows about this stuff. Definitely there's some dwarven counselor who will be like, hello, I'm in charge of making sure the dwarves don't die to all these undead. Let's have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Each worked
So
on
does anybody want
750.
to rewrite any of their goals? I'll do the.
Yes, 750 for level 15, 700 for me.
So
So-
1500 for you, Berg.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah. Anybody want to rewrite any of their goals?
I don't think so.
I do, but I
Yeah? You want to
can I
think
wait on it? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I will.
Sounds good.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll change my my second one, find worshippers of the primordials, to find out what the dwarven religion is. What do they worship?
Sure. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
It's a good start. So Ramus would be in a position to know this in a way that no one else really does, because Ramus had lots of interactions in a religious context. Dwarves, my model for dwarven like religion in general is kind of a combination of like, it's a bit like Japan in the sense that Japan is both Shinto and Buddhist, and they're both things at the same time. The dwarves have their own religion, but also they were like, yeah, we'll just have a human religion. So you might find like a dwarven priest of the sun or something in there, because some of them worship the human gods. So you can dig in and see how these dwarves, particularly how they work in the next episode. Cool.
cool. All right. That'll
All right.
do it. We're going to go do that post show. Patreon.com/roleplay.
Yes.
Get that posted up in the next 45 minutes or so. And I think we're back for another episode next Tuesday. So we'll see you guys then, 6 p.m. Eastern. Also, you got about 3 hours till the roleplay shirt is no longer available here for 2020. So if you want to grab that, it's over at itme.jp/shirt. We're out. Have a good rest of your day or night or
Everybody.
morning, whatever. We're out. Bye.